I don't think they made it. With what they had, they couldn't have made it. I would never do it again.
In 1978, 14 ordinary Americans made the longest overland journey on record, driving 6 stock Jeeps. They traveled 21,000 miles from the tip of South America to the Arctic Ocean. The trip included navigating 31 days through the Darien Gap, a 200-mile stretch of unmapped, untamed jungle. The journey took 5 months. In the fall of 2018, I visited expedition member Mike Arnold at his home near Sacramento, California. We talked for hours.
In late November 1978, an expedition of modern explorers set out in the tradition of Marco Polo and Lewis and Clark to go from the bottom of the world to the top, to cross some of the most forbidding jungle on Earth, to make the longest overland journey on record. But to Mark Smith, lumberjack, contractor, four-wheel drive specialist, and expedition leader, it is the fulfillment of a dream.
Four-wheeling and a challenge, something as a Darien has been a challenge to me for, as I say, a 12-year period. It's just something I feel we can do. I feel we have the men, the equipment, the knowledge, and the background to do something like that.
Well, the founder of the Jeepers Jamboree, Mark Smith, had this dream, and he was a pretty adventurous soul.
Yeah.
And he had planned on doing this Darien Gap. Very few people have ever heard of it. It's a section of land 200 miles between northern Colombia and southern Panama. There's no roads, it's a jungle. I forget, they call it a triple canopy jungle, but Mark had planned this. He'd even made a couple of trips down there prior to this, checking stuff out. I happened to be a rock roller on the Jeepers Jamboree at that time. Mm-hmm. And we'd heard about it. And several people says, "Oh yeah, I want to go. I'd really like to go on this." And so we had meetings, and the more meetings we went to, the people dwindled. There was 14 of us did the journey. Well, 8 did the entire journey.
So you did this in fairly stock Jeeps.
Yes.
And one of the things that I read about was that it was funded by each individual that went. Were the Jeeps provided, or
they were purchased from Jeep Corporation?
Uh-huh.
It's the best I know that the Jeepers Jamboree Corporation purchased these Jeeps for $1 each.
Wow.
And they were registered in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice we all had Nevada license plates at that time.
Yeah.
They drove the Jeep. Well, we prepared the Jeeps in Georgetown.
Okay.
They put worn hubs
mm-hmm.
on the front ends. Tires and wheels. The tires were donated by Goodyear. And there was a test of a new low-profile tubeless off-road tire. A guy from Auburn fabricated racks on the back to hold the jerry cans and the roll cages, because they didn't have anything in them from Jeep, and at that time. And I think the Ramsey furnished the winches, and that was pretty much it.
The first days are a shakedown for men and machines. They charge north to the warmer weather, getting used to the food, sleeping by the side of the road, putting 4, 5, 600 miles a day behind the wheel. They're preparing themselves and their vehicles for what is to come. Ken and Mike Arnold are brothers who share a common heritage with the land. Their ancestors were here when Columbus came.
The reason I'm here is the thrill of it, I think. I'm into different things that interest me, and this is one of them, jeeping.
Got my wife's total backing and family's total backing, and it was due to the fact that it was a one-time chance in a guy's life to see some country and maybe do something that not too many other people have done.
There was 20 days or so going from the tip of South America to actually getting to the Darien Gap. Is that about
Probably
right?
about right.
Yeah.
South America was pretty easy because it was a government service station like every 150 miles, or you were just getting low on fuel.
Yeah.
So you pretty much had to pull in and
Right.
get fuel. But we didn't get our Jeeps for, I think it was about 5 days. Money was an issue, I guess. They play that game in South America a lot. But,
Right. You just have to pay the proper permit.
yep, exactly. And the proper person and exactly. Yeah.
So once you got you got the Jeeps, they showed up in port after the permits were paid. So how many days was it from the port to the farthest point south?
I'm guessing 5.
Okay.
I don't really know. It was a while. And I think Ushuaia, which is the furthest city south in the world, I believe it's still in Chile. So we went back and forth from Argentina to Chile to Argentina. And then we started north again. Yeah, there was some beautiful country that we saw. My goodness, it was gorgeous. And then there's some Kansas type, or Nevada type, the Pampas, was miles and miles and miles of nothing. There were some adventures. We got held up in one town in northern Argentina. They wanted some money, and we didn't pay it, but they didn't keep us overnight either. They just detained us, and we missed our border crossing because a lot of the borders close at a certain hour. So that cost us a day.
Yeah.
So we had to sleep in our cars right there. And there was a group went to the Atacama Desert. Some went to Iguazu Falls, which is like a Niagara Falls of South
Gorgeous.
America.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And I did go to Machu Picchu. Very, very enlightening. The Andes Mountains are humongous. Elevation, we were up where you could hardly breathe. We were 12, 13, 14,000 feet, a lot.
What did that do to your Jeeps at that altitude?
They ran a little slower.
Did they wheeze?
Oh, they
A little
wheezed.
bit?
They wheezed a lot. They were sucking air. Is what they were doing. From there to Bogota, Colombia, and met up with all the people. All our Jeeps and everything were there, and that's where we outfitted them with the racks and to carry supplies above the Jeep.
For me, the jungle is something like a big temple. It's something that you admire, but you have to be very precautious. It is not anymore like something that you want to conquer. No, it is different. It is something that you go and meet and get embedded in it and get to live in it.
On the morning of January 15th, the expedition enters the jungle. A deep, tropical jungle, remote from the outside world, is almost a primeval experience only a handful of outsiders have known. It is quite literally a steam bath. The temperature seldom falls below 100 degrees. The humidity the same. The sunlight barely filters through the greenery overhead. The mosquitoes are constant.
Well, it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
When we first got ashore, we rode by a barge, from Turbo, Columbia to down to the Caribbean up this Turbo River, I guess it was, or Turbo, or I forgot what it was. Anyway, we come ashore, and so we had more meetings. There was a doctor there supposedly that told us what to do if you're bitten with a snake, and relax.
Anybody gets bitten by a snake, they should be as cool and calm and collected as possible.
Christ, I'd have died of a heart attack, but relax, be calm, all this. I said, yeah, really? And there's stuff in there I didn't know what's in that jungle,
Yeah. Were you worried? I mean,
oh yeah.
At the beginning of
you hear sounds that you'd never heard before. I said, I've lived in a lot of places in California here, but never heard noises like you hear in there. And
yeah.
there was one kid, the camera kid, Stuart. He slept really close to everybody from this one night because he knew there was something sniffing and snorting around his tent. And he kind of was on the outskirts. Well, he was in the middle of our camp from then on. Every night he had a little pup tent. He says, no way am I going out there again. But when we first started off, and they sent my brother and I to lead some cutters and take a couple of other guys with us on the trip and go out and we cut a trail.
Yeah.
And we took a Jeep with us. We had a couple of chainsaws.
Yep.
It didn't work all that well, but we were cutting stuff. There was no road. We were creating a road or a path. And
how did you know where to go?
We had a guide. We had two guides.
And they kind of knew
Yeah.
general direction.
And plus the workers were locals.
Okay.
So we wanted to stay high ground.
Yeah.
And as much as we could.
Yeah.
And they knew where we wanted to go. So sometimes we had to zigzag or whatever to do this, but they knew where to take us. So
they'd go out in front of you, they'd cut.
we kind of entrusted, and we were with them because they didn't know. They were just cutting because they were trying to be fast and efficient.
Yeah.
Well, it became punji sticks.
Right.
Well, these tires that Goodyear gave us, the sidewalls were nothing.
Yeah.
They were gone. We were down. We used all the spares except one. I think we had one spare left, so that was 4 new tires. So that's when we finally got them down on the ground to cut level. In the jungle, they had. This is one of the things that Mark Smith had previously done. He contacted some missionaries and had met them. They were from the United States, but they did missionary work in Panama and Colombia in the jungle, trying to civilize the natives, which was a shame. But anyway, they flew gas for us. Once we got in the jungle and we got going and moving, we were making better time. We were going past our gas places.
If people ask me at the time, especially, well, how could you let him go? I had remembered a girlfriend asking me to go to Germany with her. And I thought, there's no way I could, leave my family for 2 weeks, But I always kind of regretted it. And so when this adventure came to pass, I thought we could be married for many, many years, and I don't want to be sitting on the front porch rocking and him saying the only regret I have in my life is that I didn't do this trip.
Right.
So to me it was, you got to do it.
We got the Jeeps there and everything started clicking and started moving then. We started making some hay. Before I think it was a little depressing. And everybody was really enthused now. It was, we named this this canyon or whatever, Ramsey Ravine, and we had to go down a steep hill into this creek bed and then right straight up the other side, and it took us all day. It was 500 total feet, probably a couple of hundred down and in, and welded an axle in the creek, and
Busted an axle, welded it in the creek.
Yeah. Well, yeah. My brother and I borrowed some welding rod in the Jeep dealership in Santiago, Chile, and wrapped it in garbage bags and taped it with duct tape. 2 bundles of it, pretty good sized bundles, and we never had any welding rod when we got out. And we hooked batteries up in the chain that was our welder. That particular creek wasn't very deep, you know, it was wheel hub high or something, but usually going into a creek we had ladders that we had built prior to the trip, and but it was so steep going up there. I remember sitting in that Jeep, and naturally the windshield's down, the windshield wiper, the sprayers, you know, on your windshield.
Yeah.
The water was spraying us in the face, you know. That's how steep it was coming back. I had to fix the winches.
Yep.
We had 3 electric winches and then 2 power takeoffs. And my Jeep had a power takeoff, and a power takeoff really worked well. PTO was pretty darn good. You could use your gears.
I was pretty much raised with my grandfather was a forest ranger in the Pacific National Forest, and I used to go with him a lot and ride horseback. And the first time I was ever in Rubicon Springs, I rode horseback. There was no communication at all, and so that was kind of hairy, you know, to be worrying about him. And then we had a 9 and a 13-year-old here at home. I was working full-time for the county and then also going into our business at night and weekends and trying to keep that going at the same time. So we were busy.
How many days were you going through the gap?
31 days.
31 days to get through.
And they had figured roughly 60 days. That was how long we were going to be in there.
So you guys, I mean,
we
got
motated.
a system. Yeah, you
motated.
got going.
Once we got going, it was pretty good. We borrowed some rafts one day. We rented one and found 2 others that we borrowed. And so we went down to the river and tied 2 ladders on the piraguas, they're called, dugout canoes, and strapped them down, tied them down, and we put another set of ladders to drive up on them, and lo and behold, they didn't sink. We said, whoa, this is going to work. So we went across the river. It's a pretty good sized river, but we were able to walk and swim, and it took us 3/4 of a day to get across.
Yeah.
That was ingenuity. That was Yankee ingenuity. Another day on one of these ridges, I don't know, my brother and a couple other guys decided, you know, let's do a little sling around. And my brother wanted me to do the slinging. And we wrapped this thing around the cage, and Kenny says, when you get down there, just hump it, just get on it and go around. So we're hanging by a rope, this Jeep hanging. And I says, okay, really? Okay. So we got around and hooked the winch on another tree and pulled up, and then we were able to get all the Jeeps around there. And it worked. These straps, I'd believe in them today. They're the strongest thing I've ever seen. We never thought we'd see other people other than villagers. And we ran into a preacher, the Reverend Arthur Blessed, to spread the word. He was told that he only had a few months to live or something, that he had a brain tumor. We ran into a group from, I forgot, they were Norway or Denmark. I forgot who they were right now. There was 2 guys, and they had 2 helpers, and they wanted to know if they could borrow some stuff, and they were coming the other way. Well, watching them, we couldn't believe how far, they couldn't get very far.
Yeah.
And we never read anything about their adventure or anything afterwards. So I don't think they made it, but
got it.
With what they had, they couldn't have made it. We ran into a Corvair, 1963 or 4 Corvair, I guess it was. The day we came out, Yavisa, we came out in Yavisa, Panama.
Did you guys celebrate when you got out of the jungle?
Yeah, we did. Yep. We went to Panama City.
Yep.
And we stayed there for 2 or 3 days and ran into John Blasford Snell, I think, did the Darien with the military group before us. And they had 250 men, and they went in a rainy season. They caught in the rain. They lost people. So it was kind of interesting talking to them.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was a pretty amazing thing in our life. I think that our kids realized that they could do anything they wanted to do. I think Mike found out that his front door was really kind of a neat place, you know. And I found out I could do it by myself, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So those are really important things,
Yeah.
you know, to think about. And I think it's changed our life, definitely. And I think for our kids too.
We just started trekking north, and Nicaragua was having a big battle at that time. We never even went through Managua in Nicaragua
Yeah.
because they were fighting. Never really got held up from then on. It was just trekking. And leaving Guadalajara was quite funny. And we had, of course, like I said, you can't hear unless you can see the Jeep ahead of you in a CB.
Yeah.
So we're driving out, and Kenny and I are the last Jeep. We're tailgating. And we drive through this little town. It's called Tequila. And we said, oh, that's interesting. So along the way, there's like a little fruit stand. There were tequila stands. So we pulled into one. So my brother and I are sampling. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. We're sampling tequila. And we said, this is a pretty good deal here. And a lot of the highway, you know, we're just driving and you just get dog tired. You know, we drive a day or a day and a half or as long as you could.
They crossed the border into the states they left behind 84 days ago. Their first meal in the United States. What else?
You took a few days break in North America before heading up towards Alaska.
Yeah, we came home and
Take a shower. Shave.
Oh boy, yeah, cleaned up. It was great to be home.
Yeah.
We got new tires. We got new tops on the Jeep too, thank goodness, because some of them were ripped off.
So you finished the last part of the journey.
Yeah, 12 hours in a Jeep, yeah.
Yeah.
With 3 guys, it was fun.
Loaded down.
Yeah.
Loaded down
Yeah,
from a
really nice.
expedition.
So we headed north and got into Alaska and the Fairbanks. Actually, it was quite an experience going up through Canada. It was beautiful. And there again, now the Alcan is not paved. Same scenario. Minus 30 degrees in Fairbanks, just outside of Fairbanks. And these trucks, it's their road, boy. You better behave.
Yeah.
They'll run. In fact, they did. They ran us off the road. One of our guys got down over the side. This haul road, it was pretty steep. It was about 10, 12 feet off the side. And there was no way we were going to pull him up without pulling the other Jeep off.
Yeah.
There was no way. So we decided, Yankee ingenuity, we drove the other Jeep off the other side. So now we got 2 Jeeps. We said, this would better work.
2 stuck Jeeps.
So you winch one in the middle. So we both winched up to
Yep.
the middle and got them both back up on the road. We got in a whiteout up there you could not see. It's just blowing snow is all it's doing, and it's dry. And we got to Prudhoe Bay. Dead Horse, I think they called it. Little village there.
So say somebody wants to go to the Darien Gap and you could tell them one thing, they wanted to go through it, what would you tell them?
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Just,
Yeah.
it'd have to be, I mean, there's a lot of, I could tell them whatever I had to tell them, but it's not easy. It's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
You might want to walk it first. See, we were dry season.
Be prepared.
Oh,
Bring
yeah.
your luck with you,
Oh,
and go
goodness,
during
yeah.
the dry season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Your
Welcome.
story, certainly one of the most.
Hope you found it interesting.
It's absolutely fascinating to me. I mean, one of the most epic overland treks on record for sure. There's a book, 31 days. The book is 31 Days in the Darien. We'll make this available either through links below the video, but check out the book. It has a lot of the detail in it. Again, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
Welcome.
You know, a lot of people miss a lot of really wonderful things because maybe they're afraid, or maybe they think somebody won't let them or will think bad of them, and you have to grab those, you have to seize those moments and kind of run with them, I think.